Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, proof of things not seen. How has that faith functioned in your family, in your personal life? What about your journey? Have you gone through trials? Has your family gone through trials? Do you have stories of how God worked despite tragedies? And God is at work. In 1910, my Uncle Dick was born, the son of my grandpa's first wife. My grandpa, John Reinga, had another child in 1914. The pandemic of Spanish flu decimated the world with 50 million deaths in 1918 and 1919. But the start of terrible flu seasons began as early as 1914. That earlier outbreak took the life of my grandpa's first wife and their newborn son. At 28 years old, my grandpa was mourning a wife and child. Around that time, Hildegard Zomer, the daughter of a watchmaker, left home to work as a nanny and maid for my grandpa. World War I necessitated her finding that kind of work. In fact, my grandpa, John, was a soldier in World War I. They courted and were married on June 5, 1919. Less than a year later, my father was born. From the Netherlands, they immigrated to America when he was 4 months old. Within 6 years, my grandfather lost his wife, second son to the flu, met and married a second wife. My grandmother welcomed a newborn son, my father, and immigrated to the United States. Sometimes things do not make sense in real time. I'm sure they did not make sense to my grandfather that 6-year period. John was a Christian. My grandfather John married a Christian woman in 1909. They had 2 sons baptized in the church. John's life was taking off. Then in 1914, World War I started. He was a soldier. John served in the Dutch army. John's wife and second son died. War, flu, death. If we look at our lives and our stories, there are many things we don't understand. And yet our faith, though tested, comes to life many times in those trials. It is often there in the trial that our faith becomes the most precious to us. Now, why is that a faith story in the Reinga home? Well, there was a great tragedy. But somehow, even in these tragedies, God is at work. My father and mother had a family, and he was born in that second home. My grandma, Hildegard, was one of the most positive, uplifting people, and she led many people to the Lord. Even at age 100, I remember her witnessing to Christ in the nursing home. I got to be born. Now, Christian Leaders Institute probably would have been started by somebody else in another team. But somehow, even out of that tragedy, God is at work. Many of you have faced many trials. And Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, proof of things not seen. There is something behind the scenes. So as we go deeper into Hebrews chapter 11, we go deeper in our own faith and we think about our own faith. God is at work and He is behind the scenes. And there's something great, something positive that will happen in your life as you trust in Christ Jesus.